All right. I think we are live with Jason here. Let's see. People are starting to roll in. I see some numbers in there. So come on in, say hello, welcome. This is the live webinar for Pitching Masterclass. Let me turn this down a little bit. It's a Friday, hopefully in your neck of the woods. I don't know where you are, but how about we do this? This is what we're going to do is in the comments, I would like everybody who's participating to say hello and then link to whatever you want to pitch, share what it is. We're doing some pitching today. We're going to be talking about how to pitch, how to get publishers. So I want you to pitch your project, little blurb, what it is, unique selling proposition, link to your Steam page. We don't care. We're not censoring. You can just put, well, we are censoring. Don't put bad stuff in there, I guess. But you can put whatever you want. You want to link to your page, do it. There's no limits on self-promo here. We're all here to promote each other, back each other up. Thank you for showing up. I hope everything looks good here. I see a bunch of hellos. Post your stuff. Now, we're going to be getting started in a little bit, so post your links while we're waiting for everybody to kind of roll in. I already see about 200 people in the meeting. That is amazing. So what we're going to be doing is just going to be going through. Let me give you a little preview of what's going on. We're going to start with this kind of like intro, people posting their self-promo. We're going to switch it over to Jason. Actually, I think Jason's over here. It depends on which square I'm in.
Yeah,
so
now you got
Jason over here is going to give you, in a little bit, a little demo of himself, a little bio. And then he's going to kind of tell you what we're seeing with the pitching right now. It's crazy time. So he's going to kind of give some kind of background of what mistakes indies typically make when they're going for pitching and trying to get publishers or trying to get funding. He's going to go through all of that. And then we are just going to open it up, answer some questions. So here is how questions will work. You can start now with your questions. There's a tab up at the top called questions, I think, Q&A. Q&A only. The only part is the important part. So put your Q and your A in the only tab. And I will be moderating them. I'll be looking at those questions that I think are good. And then I'll be asking Jason. Jason will be giving his honest thoughts on those. So do that. You can chat whatever you want in the main tab. Just the Q&A tab, leave that nice and clean. Only Q's and A's. So let's get going here. Let's see. Hopefully we get some more good questions. Let's see here. You might have me again. This is me from a different angle. So what we're doing here is I think what we're doing is I'm trying to have two computers moderating this. So if you hear a little echo, that's me from two different angles. That was the worm eye view of Chris Zukowski. If you've ever always wanted to know with the worm eye view, big man view. All right. So the other reason we're doing this. So let's get started here. The reason we're doing this is a couple of reasons. Okay. One, it's rough out there, folks. Stuff's crazy. I don't need to tell you that. It's just crazy going on right now. Pitching is hard. Funds are locking down. We need all the help we can get. Jason is an expert at this stuff, and we'll get to Jason in a second. But what we also did was Jason and I put together this course. It's the Pitching and Funding Masterclass. I call it early access. We'll get to that, what that is. We are starting, today's the launch day of it. This is a separate thing. It's a full online class that'll walk you through all of this. But what we thought to do is just like a free part just in the beginning, just to kind of like introduce how you pitch, the basics of it. That's what we're going to be doing today, totally free. So let's take it away. Jason, who are you? What's going on? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, you keep turning. It's yeah, it's fun. Well, Chris, thanks so much. Always love to see the golden mic in action. Always a pleasure to work with you and stuff. So yeah, I'm Jason, and it's actually nice. I see a bunch of familiar faces in the chat, so it's great to see folks that I know already. For those who don't know me, I've been in the game industry it's over 25 years. I think it's 27 years now. So I'm an old dude, and the vast majority of the time has really been working with indies to help them succeed. We ran an incubator called Execution Lab some years ago and invested in a bunch of studios in Canada, the US, and Europe. and really did a lot of stuff to help them succeed, grow as businesses, and a lot of that involved pitching. We also had a big co-working space and indie support hub in Montreal called Gameplay Space, where we housed over 120 indie developers. I kind of fed everyone their business broccoli, and pitching and learning to pitch and all the skills around pitching and business and entrepreneurship was a big part of what we did at Gameplay Space, really encouraging developers, not only to make great, awesome, fun, beautiful games, but also to make money and succeed, and pay their staff and put food on the table. And then I do a bunch of advisory work and consulting work with studios all over the world, with other incubators all over the world, and really do work with folks to kind of solve this pitching challenge. But broadly, it's more about creating games that have commercial intent that can succeed, find the partners you need, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the super kind of high level background on who I am. And the other thing, and Chris didn't mention this, is we wanted to time this with GDC, of course, because a bunch of folks go to GDC. It's kind of the big pilgrimage down there to San Francisco to try to hustle and chase publishers and platforms and investors. And you're investing so much time and so much resources and so much energy into going down to GDC that we wanted to give everyone a bit of a leg up and ensure they maximize the potential of being down there for the big show. And this GDC will be my 27th GDC, straight GDC. I've been to 27 GDC. Yeah. So always excited to go back, even though it's, it'll be the 27th time. It always feels so fresh, so exciting, so new, and always a great time to go to GDC.
There are probably people on this call that aren't even 27 years old, Jason. You've been GDCing before they were born. So
well, guaranteed there's people that are younger than 27 here. So yes, as I said, I'm old.
Well, great intro. Thank you, Jason. So here's what's going to happen is I just want to know from Jason, like, what are the big mistakes that people make? What should we be thinking of from now? Let's pretend that we've got somebody who's on this call who is going to GDC. They've got a game. They're getting ready. They need funding. They've put some prototype together. They have some pitch materials. There's still a little bit of time to get stuff ready before GDC. It's not set in stone yet. What are the mistakes you see that you would warn against that somebody could fix now in time for like GDC and doing some of these publisher pitches?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think almost every answer I'll give you will be like, hey, we cover that in the masterclass. But just as a kind of high level preview, I mean, the first mistake that I see is really that developers don't understand that what they are pitching is the business case of their game, not just the game. So many developers are, their heads down, they're working on their amazing creation, wrestling with all the technical art, design, music, all that kind of stuff. And then when they come up for air to go pitch, what they think they have to do is just share how amazing what they're doing is and how beautiful it is and how well designed it is, how technical. And while that's part of it, a publisher, an investor, a platform, yes, they want to understand, okay, what's this cool game you're working on? But they also want to understand what's the business case. What's the budget? What's the likely revenue? What's the timeline? Who's the audience? What traction have you already generated in the marketplace? Do you have wish lists? Do you already have folks following you on Twitter and in your Discord? Is there some evidence that the market wants this game? And so I think this challenge of I'm pitching not just my cool game, but the business case of my cool game for many developers is like a gear shift that they haven't yet made. And related to that is, have I done any market validation? Have I, is my Steam page already up and collecting wish lists and demonstrating there's demand for the game? And I would say that this is a shift that has been occurring in the past couple of years, and even more so given the kind of the crappy 2023 we had, where the publishers are putting more burden on the developer to demonstrate that the audience is there. So for example, 5 years ago, there was no expectation that your Steam page would be up. I mean, maybe you would, maybe not, but there was no expectation that it would be up and that you'd have wishes. Whereas now, so many of the publishers say, "Hey, Chris, how many wish lists you got?" And yeah, and they're already asking you, and yeah, well, exactly, yeah. So, so there's, I call this a shift of burden. There's a shift of burden onto the developer to already demonstrate there's an audience. One way to do that is to have wish lists. Another way is to have lots of Discord members or followers on your Twitter or newsletter subscribers. All these other sort of forms of evidence or social proof. But anyway, so that's kind of one major mistake. Is just sort of going into the pitch thinking, I just have to tell them how cool my game is, and that'll speak for itself. And sadly, that's not really the case. So that's kind of maybe big mistake number one. Another big mistake is that the build of your game, the status of your game is not good enough. That you're doing some very early rough prototyping. Maybe you have a full GDD and some nice concept art, and you're like, okay, let's go out and pitch and see if we can get some money for this. And oftentimes the best outcome of that first pitch is, okay, Chris, great job. I like it. Send me the build. And if you're like, oh, well, crap, the build's too janky. It's just, squares and circles on a gray box grid. And, the networking code's not there. Like, then they're like, well, why'd you get me all excited? Come back in 6 months when you've got the build ready. So I often consider, I always consider a solid build as part of the pitch materials. It's not just my, shiny pitch deck. Is I have to have the build of the game ready to go. And as part of that, you want to make sure that the things that are unique about your game, that are kind of your hooks or your unique selling points, are demonstrated and functional in the build that you send. And I'll give you an example that came up literally yesterday. I was advising a developer. They're going to, exact situation. They're going to GDC. They were showing me their stuff, and I'm like, well, what's the status of the build? And it was like an online multiplayer game. Imagine it was Rocket League, just to visualize something. But the networking wasn't working. It was just, a car kicking a ball into a net. Rough, cool, but I'm like, what do you mean the networking code's not working? So it's like the whole thing is that it's multiplayer online. Like, how can it? Like, oh, well, it's going to take time. It's not ready. We've never done that before, and so we didn't want to tackle it. And listen. When you tell that to the publisher, they're going to say, well, listen, we got to see the net code working. Like, you're not ready to be pitching until you can give them a version of the game where online multiplayer is functioning, since that's such a core element of the game when it shifts. So there's this kind of balance of how robust is the build of the game, or the vertical slice, or the prototype, whatever you want to call it, and does it demonstrate those key things? Otherwise, you're just going to get pushback. Say, okay, Chris, come back later when you got that working, because otherwise I don't believe that it's going to work. So stuff around the build, I think, is another big mistake. Another one is presenting options to the publisher. And I see this all the time, where developers like, well, I don't know what the publisher is going to want. Do they want the version of the game with co-op, or is single player good enough? Or do they want the long version or the short version? Do they want the 3D version or the 2D? Oh, we don't know. And then you pitch the publisher a set of options, and the publisher's like, it's your game. You should know what this game is. Don't ask me, the choices. And I think in part it comes down to, lack of confidence from the developer, saying like, geez, I don't know. I don't know what's going to do better or whatever. You just have to figure out what game are you making and pitch that game with full confidence. And the publisher is sort of waiting to see that passion and that confidence from you, not, hey, do you want this version or that version? Like don't don't present the options. So even if internally back at the shop, the team is debating and not quite sure, are we going to make it cell shaded versus real? Like when you go pitch as if you 100% know what you're pitching. Again, even though you're still debating back at the shop, don't pitch the debate, just pitch, the game with full confidence. So I'd say that's kind of like a big number 3. And then the next, we lost Chris.
I'm still here. I just made you the star. I just made you the star of the show.
Geez. I was enjoying your body reactions, but okay. So the next 2 are kind of budget related. One of them is that developers will often trim their budget. They'll be like, oh, maybe if I ask for $1 million, that's too much. Okay, I'll trim that down and ask for 600, and maybe now I'll look like a good deal. Or I need 500 to do the game, but that seems too high. Okay, I'll trim it to 300, and maybe now they'll see me as a good deal or whatever. And don't do that, right? You should ask for the money that you actually need to produce the game. So don't kind of steal money from yourself in that sense. But also, the publisher is not usually trying to get a bargain, right? They're optimizing for success. They're picking the games and the developers that they believe can deliver the greatest level of sales, the best game that will sell the most, get best reviews, stream, all that kind of good stuff. So if they believe that your game has a strong business case and will be one of those winners, then they're not going to mind paying the budget you need to make that winning game. They're not going to say, well, what if we shave a bit here and shave a bit there? That's actually a red flag and sort of something you should walk away from. But just as the reason is, again, the publisher is optimizing for winning. They're optimizing for success. And so you have to present a game that can bring that success. And if that budget is 600, then it's 600. It's not, nickeled and dimed and trimmed and shaved to get, down to a lower number. Now, that being said, some publishers do have like a max. You have some of the more boutique-y, small-scale indie publishers, and the most they can sign is 200,000, for example. Then you have, the next tier up, they'll do 500. The next tier up maybe is $1 million. And then, I don't know, if you go to EA Originals or whatever, it's, 50 million or some crazy high number. So fine, there's a reality there that if you need absolutely $3 million to do your game, well, the number of publishers writing $3 million checks is just a much smaller list. So kind of be mindful of that. And then the other one, and maybe we'll kind of end on this common mistake and then go to the questions, Chris, but be careful that you are not pitching a break-even offer. And I'll see this all the time where the developer does not connect the dots between the slide that is the budget and the slide that is like the market potential. And it sounds crazy, but on one slide, they'll talk about, okay, I need $1 million, and this is where the money is going to be used, and here's the timeline, and all the stuff where the budget's going, $1 million. And then a couple of slides later, it'll be like, well, here's our guess at the market. We see these other, our competition, and these are the average units sold for this genre. And the developer kind of, makes an attempt to demonstrate the market potential, and like they'll have, estimated outcome $1 million. And then it's like, well, hold on a second. On the previous slide, you told me you needed $1 million to make this game. And now on this later slide, you're telling me your best guess is that the game will make about $1 million. And I said, we're losing money because the game's going to make $1 million. Steam's going to keep 30%. And then we've got to split. So like we're all losing money in this proposition. So it's one of those tricky things that it's hard to make estimates and do the competitive analysis. Of course, this is something that is covered in the course, but it's something I see so often, and even to this day, where literally the pitch is proposing a loss. And since we said at the beginning, of course, that publishers, investors, they're in it to make money, and it's the business case, you've just presented a losing business case, no matter how beautiful, fun, innovative your game is, you're kind of showing them that the most likely outcome is going to be in the red. So those are, I can go on and on and on, Chris. Maybe those are just some of the kind of high level common mistakes that I see.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. Yeah, I really appreciate you kind of going through that. As you can see, Jason is an expert at this stuff. He really could go on and on and on. I know because I helped edit the videos, and the guy is great. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. Thanks for the quick common mistakes, Jason. We're going to go to your questions. So take this time right now to type in your questions in there. Now, one of the questions I was previewing while Jason was talking, I was previewing some of the questions, and people were asking, is this going to be recorded? And I didn't wear my shirt. I almost did. I just kind of keep this on the side. Yes, this will be recorded. I'm going to put this on YouTube. It will be recorded. Everything I do in my life is recorded. But with that in mind, if your question is a proprietary, like, God, I got this publisher, they're on my ass about this stuff, and I hate this publisher, we're going to read that on air. So don't ask questions that have information that you wouldn't want shown to somebody. So just no government secrets. This is all being recorded. Now, let me just go in real quick here. Let me show you exactly what this course is. So while we're doing this, so this course is live. Like, I just turned it on just before this meeting. This is the first time you're seeing it. We call it the Pitching and Funding Masterclass, and you'll notice I did early access. Jason and I raced as hard as we could to get this out in time for GDC, because you need it now, because you need to start reaching out to publishers, to start booking meetings. Like, my calendar is already full for GDC, so we wanted to get this out. So this course tells you how to reach out to publishers, what they want to hear, how you connect to them, how you set up the meetings, what you do in the meetings. And so it's on sale right now. Just turned it on. If you go to, I think there's an offers tab somewhere off to the side. If you click it, you can see this. I'm doing a special deal because this is the launch and it's early access. I'm knocking $100 off because we're doing early access. Now, this course, we're building it with you. Now, the whole thing, let me flip over to the curriculum. So this is the actual curriculum, and it's each one of these is a lecture that Jason has done. Again, this guy knows everything about pitching, so it is very long. We cover every aspect that you're going to need to know. We cover, like, how to reach out to publishers, what the pitch deck should look like, what the minute by minute of what the meeting's going to be like. When you sit down, the doors close, and it's you and a publisher face to face, and you've got to convince them. We go through what that looks like, what happens there. A couple other special things that we're doing for this class that I really like is, this time next week, in 1 week's time, Jason is going to do another live session, just like what we're doing now, but it's only for people who've signed up for the course. What he's going to do is, you submit your pitch deck materials, and he will do a live critique, kind of like he said, where he looked at the slides, like $1 million here and $1 million there. He'll catch those things that are like a little bit crazy, that are red flags. Same thing with the team pitching a multiplayer, and the multiplayer wasn't quite working. He's seen it all. So when you sign up, this is totally free. Once you buy the class, this free pitch covering. And then the other special thing that we're doing, because we're trying to build it with all of you, because this is early access, both Jason and I are going to be at GDC. Hopefully we don't get COVID like last time I did. I missed GDC, but we are going to do a live meetup as well for everybody who took this course. And we're going to do it like right in the middle of GDC, like Wednesday, and like, hey, how's the pitching going out there? How's the pitching? Kind of like a live pit stop, like coach called timeout. It's halftime. It's halftime at GDC. Again, it's a totally free meetup that we'll be doing if you're going to GDC and you buy the course. It's only for people who buy the course. And we're going to just check in, like, is it going okay? Did the class help you? And the coach, and I'll rub your shoulders, because I don't know this stuff. Jason does. I'll rub your shoulders. If you consent, I'll rub your shoulders while Jason kind of, like, cuts your eyes, like if you're in a boxing match, or squirt water in your mouth. We're doing that mid GDC coaching. We'll schedule it. We're still figuring out the times, but it'll be on a Wednesday, like right in the middle of GDC. Still buy the course if you're not going to GDC. We're not going to tape it. The shirt, where's my shirt? This one, I don't have a shirt says this will not be recorded, because the GDC live one is going to be proprietary. There might be some secret information that gets shared. So that one we will not be recording. So I'll get another shirt that says this is not recorded. By the way, that shirt, I can only wear it when I'm on camera. If I were just to walk down the street with a shirt that says, yes, this will be recorded, I'd probably get punched. So I try and use that shirt as much as I can when I'm on camera. Okay, second part that I really love. Let me show you some other cool things about the course. Again, you have to buy the course this week, because after that we raise the price, because it's early access. We're trying to get this out. Let me show you some other things about the course. When you buy it on this call ends in about half an hour. When you buy this course in a half an hour, I throw in a free class. I did this because last year at GDC I got COVID. So I did this funny thing where I went to some of the best speakers I saw around doing some great stuff. I said, hey, do you want to do a at-home conference with me? And so we did an at-home conference. I normally sell it for $40, but if you buy this course on the call now, you get it free. I'll just tack it onto your order. I have to go in after the call. I'm going to go, everybody who buys it on this hour, buys this course, I'm going to go in and give you free access to this. I think it's like 8 different lectures. I called a lawyer. I talked to a lawyer who does publishing and like how to look for a good publisher contract. So it's very relevant to what we're doing right now. Other people like how to pitch to VR. So it's a really great conference, really great speakers, $40 normally. But if you buy this course today, just throw it in for free. Now, you might be saying, this is all the stuff that's in the course. You can actually watch some of these lectures. I've just put them up for free. So if you're still on the fence, you can just watch the lectures. You can watch Jason's lectures and stuff. Some of them, it's got to have the button that's bright red. But again, at the end of this hour, you don't get that free course. Now, here's one last thing. I do 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you take this course 30 days from now and you're like, this course was crap, Chris, I don't think it is, but you might, everybody's got their own opinions. I will give you a full refund. I won't question it. I don't do anything. You just email me and you say, Chris, course isn't for me. I'd like a refund. We will do it 100%. So if you think about it, you get and I'll let you keep that free course, the free conference, my COVID conference. I'll let you keep it for free, even if I kill this, even if you do it. So, but you only get this now. So like, there's no risk right now, because even if you take the course and you're like, I don't like this course, you can refund it and I'll let you keep the thing. You can even go to GDC. If you do the math, 30 days is like past GDC. So you can even go to GDC, return the course. Please don't do that, because then I would cry. I won't cry on the email. I'll just say, I won't even say, I'll just say, here's your refund. But internally I will be crying, but I don't care, because I want you to be happy. Okay. The other thing is it's lifetime guarantee. So tactics change. You know, Jason said, now they want the Steam page live. That's the new tactic. Same thing with my masterclass. I did a masterclass too. I update that every year, just about, because strategy changes. If you buy this, we never charge you again for version 2 or version 3. We update this every year, every 2 years, depending on how the tactics change. You'll get this for life. There's no, now you got to buy version 2 DLC. Nope, it's free. Just let me a couple other cool things that are included in this class. This is one of my favorite things. I interviewed a bunch of developers who have been through the pitching process. They got signed with a publisher. They got lots of money. I interviewed them because what I want to hear is firsthand accounts of what it's like when you sit in the room, the doors close, and the pitcher and the publisher say, "Tell me about your game." I wanted to know what that feels like, so I interviewed a bunch of devs and had them tell me this stuff. You know, like, what's it feel like? What's the tips? What do you do? Firsthand experience. So you'll see these interviews. These are coming in. Again, these are early access. You know how I call it early access right here. These are coming in. They're editing right now. Again, we're trying to get this out in time for GDC. So we're building with the community. So you're going to see a lot of changes. Every day it's going to be like Christmas. A new door opens and it'll be a new piece of chocolate. So again, check out the Pitching and Funding Masterclass. Click it in the offers tab. You have to buy this hour, and then you get that free, the free COVID conference, the conference that I created when I got COVID. You don't get COVID when you take this conference. It's all at home. So with that, I hope you take a look at that course page. Again, ends in you could still buy the course throughout the whole week, but if you buy it this hour, I throw in the free course, the free COVID conference. Okay, let's go to questions that are not related to whether this will or will not be recorded. I'm just going to start throwing them at Jason here.
Hold on.
I'm looking at the list here.
Chris, can you hear me? Yo.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Everything good?
You were on fire there. I tried to interrupt you once or twice, but you're in pitch mode.
I'm in pitch mode.
Regarding the updates, I think it's important to mention that there are some modules specifically about GDC and like how to navigate the convention center and where to do meetings and this kind of stuff. And then the idea is that we'll add other ones for other major international events. Like, so for example, Gamescom, which is another one that a lot of developers go to and are kind of in full pitch mode. So we'll update the course, with a few modules specifically on that. And then as you were pitching there, Chris, Jonathan in the chat was saying like, hey, he's very early in the process, making his game. Like, is it good to take the course now? And I would say yes, because it'll force you to start thinking about the things like traction, evidence, budget, competitive analysis, like all those other businessy things and marketing things that have to go into the deck, that ideally you're doing those things as you're developing the prototype and not just like the day before you have to put a deck together. It is like, oh crap, I should have been doing that for 5 months. So there's a bunch of stuff in there, more so around the business, traction, et cetera side, that if you're starting those aspects now, as you're in the early phases of making your game, what it'll mean is 6 months from now, when it's time to make your pitch deck, you'll have everything just to sort of drop in, as opposed to like, oh crap, I didn't do A, B, and C, and now I'm not prepared, and I have to take another 3 months to do all those other things. So yeah, even if you're early, I would recommend it.
Yeah, if anybody's taken my previous classes, I do a Tiny Chris session. There is a Tiny Chris. Tiny Chris lives in a spreadsheet, and he teaches you how to analyze the market. So again, like if you're in those early days, because there are times when, like Jason said, if you're pitching a puzzle platformer and you're budgeting out $1 million, I know if you take this class where I teach you how to like analyze the market, you are not going to find a game that earned $1 million, or like 2 puzzle platformers that earned $1 million. So it's good to know that early on, because Jason's advice is basically, I'm sorry, you can't do it. Like the pitch is going to be very hard unless you're pitching, for like maybe 10 grand or 20 grand. But that's a rough one. So yeah, we cover all that stuff at all stages for that stuff. So, okay, great additions there. Let me get to those questions, Jason. Let's go for it. Okay. My $200,000, sorry, I was in 20,000 mode, $200,000 budget already covers development and marketing. Which funding options is best to get more money for marketing?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, because publishers tend to offer it's all batched together, right? It's like they'll give you production money and then they'll spend money on the marketing. If your funding for the production's already covered, you don't have marketing specific funds. Some publishers will be happy to do a deal with you if you tell them, listen, you only got to do the marketing. You don't have to pay any production dollars. So some publishers are still a viable option there if you're looking to just kind of boost the marketing spend and marketing help. You have other project funds like Kowloon Knights or Game Seer or Wings if you're a women-led studio, that they just do project financing, so they could top up your marketing dollars, but they don't do the marketing. They're just a finance source. And then depending where in the world you are, you may have governmental programs that offer commercialization or go-to-market funding. So for example, I'm based in Montreal, and there's something called the Canada Media Fund that does offer studios different chunks of funding. And one chunk of that is, a go-to-market or commercialization fund. I was in Switzerland last week, and the Swiss Arts Council there have a small, like 20 grand little top up. If you're self-publishing a game, you can go to them and get that extra little bit of cash. So mileage may vary depending what part of the world you're in, but sometimes you do have these governmental or economic support programs to top up your marketing dollars.
Great question. Okay, next question is, what is the difference between what publishers are looking for and what customers are looking for? And Jason, I also have some comments on this one too. Why don't you go first, and I'll kind of I'll oop it to you.
Oh my goodness! Like this is like the crystal ball question. Yeah, I mean, obviously the high level statement is the publisher is looking for a game that will sell. And then that's like the high level tip of the iceberg statement. Well, what does that mean, and how do they know, and all these kind of questions? That's the kind of the magic 8 ball, the crystal ball that no one has. And so a lot of publishers tend to base it on market trends, so or platform specific trends. So we know on Steam, sandbox survival games sell well, city builders sell well, dark gritty RPGs sell well, etc. And so they're looking for things like that because those are healthy, robust genres where a lot of successes are emerging. Whereas, earlier Chris was sort of teasing about the 2D platformer. It's like those just don't sell, despite the fact that those are fun games and we all grew up on them. Like a publisher is not looking for a puzzle platformer. So there's a bit of this kind of I don't want to say they're chasing trends, but they're trying to validate their decisions based on what's happening in the market today. And I think there's a reality to that, and there's a certain justification for that effort. What that means, though, is there's definitely gaps in what the market may want, or what the market doesn't even realize they want. So if you're working on some very innovative, never before seen type of game or twist or whatever, the challenge there is the publisher will say, I don't know what this is. I can't check the numbers on Steam. There's no reference. There's no competitive set for me to evaluate against. And so never mind. And then it's like, it turns out to be the next Minecraft, or whatever. So like there was no Minecraft before Minecraft. And so everyone's like, I don't know what this is. Oh, this will never sell. And then, of course, it goes off and makes billions of dollars. So there's always those kind of what you might refer to as the kind of black swan type event that I can't see it until it it actually happens. So there's a bit of a disconnect there in terms of really what does the market want versus what do publishers think the market will want. So that's kind of maybe more of my abstract answer to that, Chris. I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
I mean, I've worked for publishers. I get consulted in, like, look at our portfolio. What do you think? Or, do some market analysis based on this. And my thought is, real quick, the market, the environment we're in now where money's tight, where publishers aren't just giving it away. Before, I think they were a little bit more spend, they would just like dump money on things that they kind of thought. But I think now with their tighter budgets, with interest rates and everything, publishers have less money to spend. So they're more aligned with the market. They're trying to analyze the market better than they used to be. Sometimes they liked it because they were like, oh, that character's cute, let's publish this game. Nowadays, I think that they're wising up and they're saying, we got to look at what's selling and what's not. And a lot of times I get called in to do that. And I'm getting a lot more calls from publishers and funds now saying, Chris, is this viable? Can you help us identify some of these things that are viable? And so I think they're getting smarter about what the market actually wants versus, I don't know what other criteria they use to buy it. So I think it's getting more critical that you align with what the market wants, because that's what the publishers. Now, there are certain funds that, they dedicate some of their budget just to say, hey, we don't care if this game doesn't sell. It's an art project. We want to show that we are an auteur supporting publisher. And so they might, some of their portfolio, 10% might be crazy projects they know aren't going to make money, but they do it. That's one thing. But I'd say if you're looking for money, you got to look at what the market wants. And I think the publishers and the market are aligning more and more every day, especially in this environment. Okay, next question is, should we send all the pitch material straight away when asking in MeetToMatch meetings, or what to pitch it live? Should we wait to pitch that live?
Yeah. So in fact, there's a module in the masterclass exactly on this topic. Normally what I recommend is to save all of the pitch materials, particularly the pitch deck, for when you do the face-to-face meeting at GDC. And if you're using the MeetToMatch, the MeetToMatch is a very powerful system I recommend it to everyone. If you don't have publisher connections and you're going to GDC, your easiest path to start reaching other publishers will be MeetToMatch. So splurge for the extra, I don't know, a couple $100 that it is. It's well worth it. But the UI is a bit cumbersome, right? It's like you have your personal profile, the company profile, project profiles, there's the schedule, the request, the chat. Like it's, you know, it needs a UI cleanup, let's say. And so when you send the request for a meeting in the MeetToMatch, what I recommend is that in the text box that you're filling in your message, like, hello, publisher, my name is Jason. I have a cool indie studio from Montreal. We're working on, a great ninja game, whatever. In that message, include what I call the one pager. The one pager is like a summation of the pitch on a sort of like movie poster style of a PDF, like one page, very visual. Again, this is 100% covered in the masterclass, and you put that PDF in like a G Drive or just jason.com/PDF on your website, so that when they get the message and they're reading it right there in the message, they can click that link to the one pager and kind of see in a very compelling, very visual summary of what the game is. And then they'll be like, oh, that looks great. And they accept the meeting. As opposed to if you're just like, hey, I'd like to meet. And then they have to like close the message. They have to go to your company, click the, they have to like dig through the whole MeetToMatch system. And so they may just sort of give up or bail. So I really like the idea of in that initial kind of message within the MeetToMatch, you're including a link to the one pager, which is the summary of the pitch overall. So that's and then you sort of save all the materials, the pitch deck, the build, etc., for when you're face to face. The one exception is if the publisher says, "Hey, love the one pager. Can you send me a pitch deck or this or that?" If they request it specifically, okay, fine, no problem. You send it through. But if they don't request it, oftentimes the one pager is enough for them to say, oh yeah, this looks interesting, and they accept the meeting. So focus on the one pager. The rest of the stuff, save it for the meeting.
Okay, excellent. Just doing a time check here. We've got about 10 minutes left. Don't forget, if you buy the course during the call, you get that free conference that I did in this bedroom. And you'll get it free, even if you decide, I don't want it, and you return the masterclass for pitching. Again, this will include if you buy it, we'll be back next week. This time next week, we'll be submitting pitch materials. Jason will be looking at it, giving specific advice. Now, it depends on how many people register for that event and stuff. I mean, he's going to pick the best kind of materials that he saw that elucidate the best stuff. No guarantee that you're going to get it, but it'll be helpful to see the mistakes that maybe some other indies are making in their pitching. And then, of course, you will also, if you're going to GDC, we're going to do the halftime timeout. Talk to Coach Jason De La Roca. He's gonna help you get back in the thing. I'll cut your eyes like a boxer or squirt water in your mouth, give you the backup if you consent to it, and then we'll put you back in there. So again, some really good stuff, but you gotta get it now. This during this call, because I mean this will be available afterwards. We're gonna keep this sale price for at least a week. This discount price, because we lopped off $100 off the price for this week because we're in early access. After that, not as much. But if you buy this hour, you get that the special stay-at-home conference. So let's go to the next question here. What is the best way to deliver a prototype as part of a pitch for a multiplayer game? I think this keys off your theoretical soccer, Rocket League.
Yeah. Well. So, I mean, you can deploy it on Steam, of course. I mean, it's probably easier than when you have a developmental branch, a prototype or beta branch on Steam that you can manage separately, and then you give keys out, so that folks, I mean, everyone's got a Steam account, so they'll just sort of grab the key and they'll download it. The challenge is more about synchronizing enough people to play the game. I mean, if it's 1v1, okay, fine. Then the folks at the publisher can just coordinate, to play each other. But if it's like a 50-person battle royale or something, how do you ensure you get 50 players in there for when the publisher wants to test? So from a build deployment point of view, I'd say just put it as a development branch within Steam, share keys. That part's easy. The question is it 1v1? Is it 10v10? Is it 50? Like, it's about synchronizing enough players. And in some cases, you just have to have like the whole development team, and you just coordinate with the publisher. Say, okay, Friday at 2:00, we're all going to log into the server, and we'll make sure all of our team members are there, and you bring your friend. So you got to synchronize so that they have a proper play experience.
Great. Okay, let's do this. Let me see. Sorry, I just missed it. How early? This is a question, and there was it's not a specific question. I was trying to find it. There's a question about Kickstarter, and I just want to bracket so that people, again, we want 100% satisfaction when you purchase this. There's a couple areas where we cut off this course. We don't talk about Kickstarter. We don't talk about lawyers. We don't. Neither one of us is a lawyer. We don't know the legal side. Get a lawyer. So what we do is we cut off at those sides. So we don't talk about Kickstarter in this course, and we also don't talk about the legal issues like, oh, watch out for this or that. That you need a specialist who's can go through a contract with you. And so good. I just want to make sure. Do you want to add anything to that, Jason? I just want to make sure that somebody doesn't buy something and they're hoping that we cover that.
Yeah. I mean, if the question was, will I talk about Kickstarter? As you said, the answer is no. I think there's the other question, which is, if I've done a Kickstarter, does that somehow then, make me more likely to also get a publisher to kind of stack on top? And the answer is, it depends. Having a really good Kickstarter obviously is part of market evidence. And so that's generally a good thing that helps you demonstrate the demand for your game. Obviously, if you had a failed Kickstarter, then that's kind of like almost like a nail in the coffin. Then no publisher will want to touch it. So you got to be really careful. Kickstarter and a publisher are not incompatible and can be stacked. And in fact, I've heard some publishers will specifically go after developers that have had a very successful Kickstarter and say, hey, great job. Do you want us to also kind of stack on top and help you, bring the game to market? So, yeah.
Great question. And this actually dovetails to the next question was, where should my prototype be? How done should it be before I seek funding? And we actually, I'll let Jason answer this, but we also have here's a lecture. We talk about when to get funding. He has this great tube chart. I love the tube chart. We put it in twice. We put it down here and there, and it includes when to do Kickstarter funding, even though we don't talk about Kickstarter, but we do talk about when to do like some of this crowdsourced funding and that sort of thing. So Jason, what level does the prototype need to be in before you start the pitch?
Yeah. Again, we have a module specifically on this topic. And it's one of those subjective things that's, kind of hard to answer. Obviously, it has to demonstrate the core fun of the game. Now, what that means will largely depend on what genre your game is and how much you have to build. And the prototype / vertical slice, the build that you're going to share with a publisher also has to de-risk the thing that's the hook, the thing that's, innovative. I kind of teased the developer that I was advising yesterday. That was a multiplayer game, but the multiplayer wasn't working. Right? If the whole game is about multiplayer and you don't have the netcode up and running, like you're not ready. The build is not ready. Now, does it have to have capacity for 500,000 concurrent users and seamless 100% uptime? Like, okay, no, but the multiplayer has to be working. The other example I'll often give is the idea of, like, let's say I'm building a Metroidvania and I'm the first one to ever use a grappling hook. Like, let's say there's never been a Metroidvania with a grappling hook. And so I go into the pitch and I tell the publisher, the unique selling point of my game is we're a Metroidvania with a grappling hook. It's never been done before. Then the publisher is going to say, okay, great. Show me. I want to feel the grappling. I want to touch. I want to use. And if you say, oh no, we haven't coded that part yet, then the build's not ready, right? So you have to make sure that the things that you're selling or pitching as being the unique hooks, innovative things that are in your game, you have to show that they're in the game and working and contribute to the fun. You can't say, oh, well, crap, the grappling hook's really hard. We haven't touched it yet. They're just going to kick you back and say, well, listen, I'm not signing anything until I see the grappling hook working. So that's my sort of quick answer there.
Great question. Next question, and this is kind of all about the art and everything, and how publishers work. The question is, are publishers a viable option if you only really need to share if you are only ready to share profits with them, but you still want to have 100% control over the game's vision and content? Or what is the best funding option for them? I think this is kind of like an arts versus question. And am I signing up to somebody who's going to be over my shoulder and telling me what kind of my vision is going to be? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you really have this unique artistic vision, then maybe working with a publisher is not the best option. Depending where you are in the world, you may have different sources of arts grants and cultural funding. If you're in the US, it's probably not an option. But even there, the amounts of funding available for artistes with a capital A, it's relatively low amounts of money, 10, 20, maybe 50 grand. In most cases, if you work with a publisher, they're betting on you. They're backing you because they believe in your vision. They're blown away by your pitch and the awesome game that you're making. And so usually they're not going to get over your shoulder and say, hey, make that sword blue instead of red. And I thought the dragon should be bigger and, make the flames more puffy. Like, generally speaking, they're busy doing their thing. They're not going to get in there and nitpick, etc. Now, that being said, they are your partner and they want to maximize the economic potential of the game. And part of what they're going to do is, test, do quality assurance to make sure there's not crash bugs and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to be monitoring, feedback from the testers and so on. Now, if they come back to you and say, there's problems, the UI, no one understands where they have to go. Well, they're not going to tell you how to do your UI. They're just going to tell you, half the players couldn't complete the game because they didn't know where they were on the map. Like you should probably fix the UI of the map. So that's the kind of feedback that most publishers would give, as opposed to say, oh, well, make it blue instead of red, and I like the color green better than turquoise. Like, it's more stuff like that to kind of improve the quality of the product. So that's kind of, in most cases, they don't want to get in there and design it for you, but they will give you feedback if it's clear there's sort of problems with balancing, with the UI, this kind of stuff.
Great. Okay, next question is, what is the difference between pitching to a publisher and pitching to an investor?
Yeah, well, so we cover that actually in the sort of handful of free modules at the beginning of the course. We talk about the difference between investors versus publishers, and the sort of short answer to that is, if you are doing premium price games, so $20 on Steam, console, whatever, then you really want to go after project sources of funding, like publishers being the main source. If you are doing free-to-play, game as a service, online multiplayer games, then you can go down the investor path, which is mostly the venture capitalists, the VC funds. The VC funds all want to back things that have exponential scaling opportunity, which is, usually implies game as a service, online, free-to-play business model. So the good news is, if you are working on a premium, PC console game, don't waste any of your time chasing VCs. They just don't breathe the same oxygen that you do. So just, you can ignore them, save all that heartache and time chasing them. Just forget about them. Whereas if you are doing something really ambitious, game as a service, online, multiplayer, persistent, all that kind of stuff, free to play, okay, now you go knock down the doors of the VCs. And in fact, most publishers won't want to work with you. That most publishers are not equipped to do proper multiplayer, online, game as a service, all that kind of stuff. And so you kind of don't need to waste your time chasing the Devolvers and Team 17s and Raw Furies. They're mainly doing premium Steam or PC console. So it's kind of like a fork. And in the free materials of the webinar of the masterclass, we actually go into that fork in more detail.
And just to clarify, this is all for this whole masterclass takes the fork of premium publisher, maybe a project-based funding. We do not touch VC in this course. We don't touch if you're making a free-to-play games as a service like Roblox or something like that. We don't touch that. We are specifically talking about premium games that you typically put on Steam or consoles. You typically get a publisher, or you get project-based funding from like a Kowloon Knights or a Wings, something like that. That is what we cover here. We do not touch VC. So sorry, free-to-play folks, get out of here.
And Chris, just to, I mean, there are a couple of modules where we talk about it at a high level so that people understand what it is and what the difference is and why the fork exists. But yeah, then we say we're going to ignore the VC fork. And as you said, Chris, we're going to go down the path of the premium side, publisher pitching. So there's some, preamble, high level stuff just to understand what it is.
Great question here. We got about 5 minutes. I think this is going to be our last question here. So question from Sebastian. GDC and traveling to events is off budget to a lot of us and live far away. What are the chances of landing a publishing deal via email and Zoom calls?
Happens all the time. This is sort of one of the silver linings, I guess, of COVID and the impact of COVID. That it's still possible, it's now possible to do it remotely. I think there's still a benefit and an advantage to be face to face, to shake a hand, to be in the same room, kind of feel the energy. But I would not say it's mandatory. And so you still have some events that do MeetToMatch online or do pitch events and virtual conferences. And you can also just reach out to publishers via LinkedIn, via the scouts on Twitter. And one of the modules in the masterclass is like how to reach out, how to find, how to poke publishers. We kind of do it in the context of going to, an event. But that part's not necessary to like consummate the encounter. So you can still sort of chase them online and then do the meetings and pitches virtually. And it'll largely follow a very similar path in terms of how the pitch is done, how to manage the time and having the build ready. And so I would say the masterclass is 100% applicable, even if the event is an online event or just a Zoom call that you schedule on your own time.
Excellent. And one of the interviews that I did with one of the developers, they got funding during COVID. All their funding came from COVID. So they were Zoom masters. And so I interviewed one of these devs. The video is not up yet. It'll be up. We're editing it right now. This is why it's early access, folks. It is going live throughout. It's like, again, I like to think of it as like Christmas. Every day it's like a new chocolate that you open the advent calendar and there's a new piece of chocolate if you do that. So once you sign up, you're going to be getting emails from me at a regular cadence say, hey, we just uploaded a new interview. Another question. So thanks for all the questions, folks. Another question that we often get is this stuff translated? Yes, we transcribe everything. All of Jason's talks are transcribed. You can turn on sub captions, and we translated them to lots of languages. I think pretty much everything but Korean, and that's just because the translation service that I use doesn't do Korean for some reason, but we'll have translations. We do Brazilian, French, Japanese, German, the FIGS languages, I think they call them. We do all of them. So you just turn on the captions and they're there. We also upload a transcript. So if you prefer to read and don't like to listen or something like that, that's all included in the course. But again, just like Christmas, every day something new will come up. So the translations aren't uploaded. We've got them made. It's a very laborious process of dragging and dropping 1,000 little translation files up into these videos. So that will be coming. Again, this is your last chance because this meeting ends very soon. What I'm going to do is after this call, I'm going through and everybody who bought the course right now, because you click the offer tab, and if you click that offer button and you buy the course through that offer button, I know you bought it on this class. that button's not going to work after this class. And I'm going to give you the free lecture, the free conference with all these interviews and stuff that I did with other awesome developers, marketing, all kinds of cool talks. You get that for free. Even if you return the class, you get to keep it. So if you're even thinking about doing it, do it now. There's no risk. Like, again, as long as you return it in 30 days, I don't care. I mean, I might cry a little bit internally, but I won't give you a hard time about it. So yeah, really, last shot. Let's see if there's any other cool things. I wrote this is my little piece of paper of things I want to remember to tell you. Translations, yes. We will be adding, there were a couple questions we didn't get to it. A budget calculation, like how to do budget. That's one thing we're working on right now. I'm working with some producers to create a little calculator. So it'll be a spreadsheet. You type in some details about what your game is, how many people and all that stuff. And it'll spit out a pretty good number for your page when you're doing your budget for, what your budget is going to be in the pitch and how to do that. So that will be added. It's another Christmas Day, another little advent calendar surprise. More interviews are coming. Lifetime access. Again, if we update it, turns out publishers love it when you wear a blue shirt. We'll tell you that. We'll update it. And when you go in, we'll say, wear the blue shirt. And we'll update that, and you get that update free. You don't have to buy the DLC update about what to wear. No, we will update that for free, lifetime access. And it'll never be this low. Those prices, the lowest it will ever be. Even if I do a summer sale sometimes, still will not be as low as today because we're discounting it super deep because it's early access. We're building this with you. And that's part of the reason we're doing all these check-ins. So again, we're doing a check-in live thing just like this 1 week from today where you can supply your materials. Jason's going to review it and pick some to like do a little demonstration and say, hey, this is what I don't like the way you did this or that. He's very nice. As you know, Jason's very nice, but it'll be a live critique. So you get access to that. And then again, 30-day guarantee. As long as you email me and say, hey, Chris, I'd like to return it. I just push this one button. You get ejected from the class, but you get your money back. So I have no problem with that. And then tears come down my face, but I don't share those tears with you. It is just internal. So really, this is your last shot. I think the meeting is ending any second now. And then yes, Jason, any last thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, just maybe as a kind of like final tip, and it sounds pretty basic, but like practice. Right. You know, it's stressful. You're in these meetings. It's high pressure. You need the funding. You're kind of sharing your vision of your game. You're going to get a bunch of feedback. It's quite a stressful process. I mean, I think, you know, going through the formula, the steps and preparing as we outline in the masterclass, I think will help a tremendous amount with those stresses. But you really have to practice the pitch. Like, don't just sort of show up for these meetings and you've got the devolver person sitting in front of you and just kind of like winging it with some, you know, images on your screen. Like, you really have to take the time, put your deck together, and then practice. And as cheesy as it sounds, practice in front of your mirror, practice in front of your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, practice in front of your fellow colleagues, you know, go to a local developer meetup and then practice to some of your other developer buddies. It'll pay dividends. Like, truly take the time, practice, even if it means that for the next 2 weeks you're doing less development. Do the practice, take the time to put it together. It'll have a massive, massive impact on the results when you get in front of everyone. So yeah, practice.
Great. Yeah, let's I mean, I'm going to go until this thing shuts down. Let's see what happens. I don't know if it's actually just going to like disappear. Maybe we just answer one more question. Sure. I mean, again, Jason, I've got the time if you've got the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the countdown is at 48 seconds now, so I think that's the...
Okay, let's see it. Yeah, you have 48 seconds. By the class, I'll throw in... again, after this call, I go in and I just boop, 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 go into your account, and I just add this little course. So you got to get it now, because if you don't, that's it. Again, price will never be this low. 30-day return. And you get these special GDC meetups where, you know, I squirt the water in your mouth. It'll be fun. We'll check in. Again, next week, you get exclusive access to this call where Jason's going to review materials. Developer interviews are going up. Budget calculators. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited about this class. This is the first time I've ever done, like, I hand it off to somebody. So, but it's the same how to market a game quality. It's just a different face, different expertise. Thank you so much, Jason, for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, thank you for everybody else. I mean, yeah, great. Done. See you later.
All right. See you, folks. Thank you so much.